All right, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night, whatever time you're tuning into this video, just make sure that it is good. My name is Game Boy Rob, and today I wanted to say it's been a minute. It has been a minute, hasn't it, since my last YouTube video, and I wanted to apologize for that. It's been a bit difficult for me over the last couple weeks to feel like I was creating quality content. I'm gonna lay my cards on the table. I am a very new streamer. I have a content creator. I have not been doing this for very long. I am still very new to this whole content creation thing. In case you guys aren't aware, I stream five days of the week, 5 out of 7 days, right? And I am still getting used to figuring out how to manage my time in such a way that allows me to stream for 6 hours and then like also make a video in the same day, right? Every day. Turns out that's pretty hard. Making a video is hard and streaming takes a lot of energy, so figuring out how to do both on a daily basis has been pretty difficult, but I'm doing my best. I'm in it for the long haul. I'm here to stay, so bear with me and I will try to get back into the swing of things, and I'm going to be trying to make a video every day, or at least 5 or 6 days out of the week, every week for the foreseeable future. That's my plan. If you guys are enjoying this content, if you're enjoying my YouTube content, please leave a like, please consider subscribing. It really would help out my channel. Like my videos, it'll help get the ball rolling, get the algorithm to pick me up, and it'll really help out the channel. Now, with all that self-promotion-y nonsense out of the way, today I wanted to start something new. I wanted to start a new series where I take a look at all the Masters meta decks. I want to take a look at all the decks that are currently in the meta in Masters, well, in North America where I play, and sort of go in depth on them one by one and talk about why they're good, why they are currently in the meta, and what they counter and what they don't counter, you know, where their place is in the meta. So I think I'm going to do that for the next week or so, at least, probably more. And I think where would a better place to start be than with this right here. A deck I have dubbed Big Lizards is a deck that I have been running into almost what feels like every other game for a few days now, which is crazy because this is a deck that I never would have expected to be on, you know, at the top of the ladder, but here it is, right? This is essentially just a dragons deck. It's Shyvana, Aurelion Sol, dragons. And if you guys are thinking, what? Dragons? Whoa, Game Boy Rob. Dragons have never been good. They've always been like tier 3, tier 4, right? They've always just sort of been not very good. And like in the latest patch, I mean, Shyvana got changed. She's got Fury now, but she lost an attack. Wasn't that a nerf? Isn't this deck even worse than it was? And to that I say, I thought so too. To you, viewer, who is echoing my thoughts, I would like to say, I thought the same thing. However, if you take a look at the top of the ladder in North America, where I play, you will see that Mr. Ace, who has the very top ranking, has gotten here with his version of Aurelion Sol plus Demacia. And then BBG, who's currently sitting at number 3 on the ladder, has done something similar. And then I think the last one is 4LW. 4LW has also gotten up into their spot, number 6 on the NA ladder with dragons. I know 3 out of the top 8 players in NA have gotten there using this deck. So there must be something to it, right? There must be something to it. So we're going to look at it today. We're going to kind of go over it and talk about maybe why. And I'll give you guys my list, and you guys can obviously neck deck this and copy it and hopefully climb a bit higher up than wherever you happen to be on the ladder at the moment. So why now? Why is dragons suddenly on the ladder? Why is it suddenly there, kicking butt, taking names, getting LP, right? And we talked a second ago that Shyvana obviously is has just been changed, right? In the most recent balanced patch, like less than 2 weeks ago, Shyvana got a change. She lost 1 attack. She went from a 4-mana 4/4 to a 4-mana 3/4, but she gained the Fury keyword on her level 1 form. Now, most people myself included, when we looked at this change, thought, oh, did you have to take away her attack? I mean, yeah, give her Fury, but leave her at 4/4, right? You don't need to nerf her. She's already not a very good card. She never sees very much competitive play. Why not just give her Fury and leave the attack the way it was before? And you know, a lot of people, you know, said that, oh god, they actually nerfed Shyvana, which I don't think is true. But I don't think that I expected giving her one less attack and Fury would actually make her a significantly better card. However, if you have a Dragon Chow on the board, this starts becoming less true. Playing Shyvana as a 4-mana 4/4 was right? You attack with her, and now she's like a 4-mana 5/5 with 1 temporary health, and that's good. It's okay, right? But if you can play Shyvana as a 4-mana 4/5 because you have a Dragon Chow on the board, now that makes a difference. And then you attack with her as a 5/6, that is a significant buff, and it makes her much better than she was. So Shyvana getting Fury is actually a buff if you have a Dragon Chow on the board, right? Playing Shyvana after a Dragon Chow has been buffed. Now, I don't think that alone has been enough to push Shyvana and her deck into a, you know, favorable position in the meta. What I think has is this little card right over here, Herald of Dragons. This card, which has always been, you know, has been in the game for as long as Shyvana has been in the game, is suddenly making the deck feel really good. And I think the reason behind that is there's just not a lot of ways to remove her in the early game right now in the meta, right? In the past, when trying to make Shyvana decks work, in the past, I think what's more been holding her back than her cards themselves has been the meta around her, right? When Shyvana first came out, you know, obviously she came out with Soraka and Tahm Kench, right? So there was that deck running around, which kind of made it a little difficult. You know, with all the Boxtopuses and stuff, it was hard to keep this on the field. There's also been Fleet Feather Trackers. You know, the meta right after that one had a lot of Go Hard in it, and then there was a lot of Field of Rush, and then there was a lot of Ezreal Draven, you know, and Mystic Shots coming down on round 2. And you know, avalanches everywhere, and it's just been very difficult. It's been very difficult to keep this card on the field long enough for her to actually generate tempo, generate value, right? But right now there's not very much of that. There's not a lot of decks running Fleet Feather Tracker very often. There's not a lot of decks running Go Hard. There's not a lot of decks running Mystic Shot even. So a Herald of the Dragons right now tends to stick. If you play this on round 2, it will probably survive to round 3, and then you can play either Shyvana or a White Flame Protector for cheaper than you would normally be able to do it, making this card much better than it has been in the past. And honestly, I think that alone is making this deck pretty decent. And it's got a decent place in the meta, and we're going to play some games, and I'll see if I can show you guys exactly how good this deck really can be. We should do a quick once over on all the cards. Obviously, we've got 3 copies of Dragon Chow. This card is insane. Turn 1 Dragon Chow into turn 2 Herald of the Dragons into turn 3 Shyvana. Outright wins a lot of games. Turn 1 Dragon Chow, turn 2 Herald of the Dragons, turn 3 Shyvana. That'll instantly win the game against many decks in the meta. There are not a lot of things that can deal with a 4/5 Shyvana that's attacking as a 5/6 on round 3. Like that's game over in a lot of cases, and it happens not like often. It doesn't happen all the time, but it happens more often than you might think. So that alone is making the deck pretty decent. Now, obviously, you may have noticed I'm running 1 Zoe in my version of the list, and that's because obviously Shyvana you want to be running as a 3 of. This is really a Shyvana deck, and so we're running 3 copies of Shyvana, and of course running 2 copies of Aurelion Sol because he's also a dragon, and he's a good late game finisher for this deck, and you know, that just kind of makes sense. But Aurelion Sol is one of the few champions that generally doesn't want to be played as a 3 of. Most champions in this game, obviously you build your deck around leveling them up, and so you want to play 3 of them. But since Aurelion Sol is a champion, but he's also a 10 cost unit. You don't really need to run 3 of him. Even as just a 2 of, you usually draw him by the round in which you want to play him. So running running 3 is a little unnecessary. So generally Shyvana decks will have 1 free champion slot, and I decided to fill that with Zoe because Zoe acts as a nice 4th 1-drop if we don't draw Dragon Chow, and she just sort of gives us extra cards to work with, helps us not run out of steam. She's a really good card. And she sort of just slots into this archetype nicely. She doesn't exactly synergize with it, but her mana cost and how she works, she doesn't interrupt the deck, and she can level up just by being on the field and watching all the dragons hit the field, right? So she's a pretty decent card in this deck as a 1-of, nothing crazy. 3 copies of Drakengard Lieutenant. This card is fantastic. 3 Herald of Dragons, 3 Pale Cascade, and 3 Sharp Sight because combat tricks are great on dragons. 3 single combat for obviously a similar reason. This is one of the best cards in Demacia. We should all be running 3 of them every time. Same with Concerted Strike for obvious reasons. Just great removal in Demacia. 1 copy of Dragon's Clutch. This is here mostly to act as like insurance. Like there will be games every once in a while where you just don't draw enough dragons, where you just like you like maybe draw a White Flame Protector, but then everything else in your deck, everything else in your hand is like, yeah, combat tricks and like a Drakengard Lieutenant, and you actually don't have any dragons. Dragon's Clutch helps us fix that problem. Just as a 1-of, like if we don't draw any of our dragons, we'll draw this, hopefully, and then, you know, it can find our dragons for us. But also in a lot of cases, the other half, the other option, granting all dragon allies +1/+1, is actually very good in a lot of board states. It can sort of act as like a pseudo Pale Cascade if you're in like a weird single combat Notify chain or whatever. So that card is pretty good as a 1-of. We're keeping that. We're running 3 copies of Solari Sunforger, and that's because this deck struggles against aggro. If there's one archetype that our deck is going to struggle against, it's stuff like discard aggro, stuff that goes wide really fast. We have trouble keeping up with. The lifesteal on Solari Sunforger can just turn the tide so quickly, and obviously running Solari Sunforger alongside stuff like Concerted Strike and single combat allows us to like double or triple the amount of lifesteal he would give us, and that can really get us back into a game where we're going up against that aggro. In fact, if you find yourself running into a lot of aggro, it might even be wise to consider swapping out like a Pale Cascade or a Sharp Sight or something for like 3 copies of the Fangs as well, just to shore up our weakness against aggro. I haven't done that in this particular list because I don't find myself running into too much aggro, but if you find yourself running into too much aggro, honestly, more lifesteal is not a bad thing. And then 3 copies of White Flame Protector because we do need a 4-drop dragon all the time, right? We want to play Herald of Dragons on 2 and then either Shyvana or White Flame on 3. So we want to have as many copies of 4-drop dragons as we can, and there's only 2, so there we are. And then 3 copies of Concerted Strike, 3 copies of Screeching Dragon. I shouldn't have to explain why this card is great. And then 3 copies of Eclipse Dragon and 2 copies of Aurelion Soul. Because, you know, Eclipse Dragon on 7 into Aurelion Soul on 8 is really, really hard for opponents to deal with. And if you can level up with Aurelion Soul, then the game is just over, right? So that's the deck right there. And I think I've been rambling along long enough. So I think we should be able to just get into some games. Let's see if I can show you why this deck is doing so well on the ladder right now. Let's go. And yep, see what I mean? This deck is pretty prevalent. All right, so we've got ourselves a bit of a mirror match here. Ooh. We do find both Herald and Drakengard Lieutenant, but no other dragons. We're also attacking on odds. I'm actually gonna mulligan Drakengard Lieutenant, just because since I already have a Herald of Dragons, I really want to find either Shyvana or White Flame. So I think I'm actually gonna mull away the Drakengard and hope to draw. Well, we don't find Shyvana, but we do find a Screeching Dragon and a second Herald, which could be quite interesting here. All right, so I'm not gonna play the Herald this turn. If I do, my opponent will likely play his own Dragon Guard Lieutenant and kill my Herald of Dragons, and I do not want to deal with that. So I'm actually just gonna pass here. And we find ourselves a Dragon Chow. I'm gonna drop that first. There it is, and there it is, and that's why we waited. So I will play the Herald now. So my opponent might open attack next turn. If my opponent open attacks next turn to kill my Herald, that's not ideal. Oh, he's actually going for single combat on the Chow. That's very strange. That is very strange that he targeted the Chow there. I don't think that was correct. I don't think that was correct at all. And there she is, a little late.
Found a home among the Dragon Guard.
We are your people, Anna, and you ours.
I'm not gonna go for greed. Someone might think that you should play Herald of Dragons so that you can play Shyvana for 2 mana, but obviously since our opponent has a challenger, that's not gonna work.
I will show you no mercy.
So we're just gonna play the Screeching Dragon, which should block Shyvana here, unless he has a Sharp Sight. If my opponent has a Sharp Sight, that will be bad. If he has a Pale Cascade, however, we should be okay. Let's see what he has. Oh, that's a Sharp Sight. That's not ideal. We are going to save our Herald of Dragons and deal a little bit more damage to our, to Shyvana here. That is a big lady. That is a big dragon lady. So this time I think I will actually lead off with Herald.
Come hither, you beasts of glory.
If my opponent has single combat and decides to kill one of them, then we play Shyvana. If not, we just get to play another Screeching Dragon for cheap.
The prophecies ring true.
We do not have enough to play the Pale Cascade this turn, which is unfortunate. Our opponent has a... That's not enough, sir. Sir? 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 That's not...
Soon.
That wasn't enough, sir. Well, all right, that's one way to win. That's one way to win. Just have your opponent not know how to do math, but it's whatever. We'll take it. We take those. But I think that will go to show. I think that does go to show how prevalent this deck is on the ladder. So let's do another. On to round 2. Okay, we got ourselves the Watcher. We got ourselves a Watcher matchup this time. Okay, now we do not see a Herald of Dragons, but that's okay. We do find ourselves a Shyvana. I don't think I want to keep Concerted Strike in this matchup. This could be a decent hand to keep some Concerted Strike, but in this matchup, I just don't think it's that good. We don't really want cards like that. Like, what are we gonna remove? Trundle? Maybe. So I think it's better to just mull it away. Okay, this is not exactly what you want to see on round 1, but that's all right. That's right, because we're going first on round 1, and we have our 1 copy of Zoe. What more could you ask for, right? What more could you ask for? All right, we're gonna slap her down. We're gonna slap her down, and we're going to make ourselves a super cool star chart. Super cool star chart. All right, we see what our opponent does from here. Probably nothing. Yep, not surprised there. We will drop the Dragon Guard Lieutenant.
We wear red to honor the fallen.
Avalanche is pretty spooky. But if our opponent has it, there's nothing we can really do about it. This already is probably enough to trigger our opponent to go for an Avalanche. So we're just gonna open attack. I am perfectly all right with taking the mana discount. I don't think we need... It's not like we're going to outvalue our opponent in this matchup, so it's not like we need to play the super cool star chart before Zoe hits to get a second super cool star chart, right? I don't need to do that whole song and dance. And now our opponent avalanches, which is very interesting. So I am planning on dropping Shyvana next round. So I think this is actually a good time to go for the super cool and see what we get. Ooh, these are very interesting. These are very interesting options. The messenger can be good just to refill a little bit. The charger could be good to threaten. And Moonglow is cool to like protect our Shyvana. I think I'm gonna go Moonglow. I think honestly giving Shyvana extra health and spell shield is probably the best way to go here. I was gonna say since we didn't have like, you know, any sort of combat tricks in our hand last turn, but lo and behold, there one is.
Rage claws to get out.
But the way our opponent's deck tries to like wear us down using like avalanches and then blighted ravines, and eventually your units will run out of health. Having +2 health and spell shield, I feel like is going to go a long way to helping prevent that sort of thing. If I play Screeching Dragon and our opponent goes Trundle, that wouldn't be great. That wouldn't be great. So I'm gonna go Dragon Guard Lieutenant instead.
What's the fire breath this time?
A soldier should know to stay out of the way.
This way, if our opponent drops Trundle, we can attack anyway, and if our opponent wants to block with Trundle, we still have access to Sharp Sight. I like that better. I like that better than playing the Screeching Dragon here. Ooh, no Trundle. I mean, probably they have it now.
They are nothing.
All right, so we attack. Shyvana is not exactly close to leveling up. This game, but she'll get there before too long, I suspect.
Nice to meet you. Ah!
Okay, there's the Trundle. We will drop Screeching Dragon.
Prove your worth, Zephyros.
Now we could go for like Pale Cascade plus single combat kind of shenanigans to like speed up killing Trundle and stuff, and that's worth considering. I don't think we need to do that. That's worth considering, but I don't think we need to go for something like that. Ooh, that is a nice top deck. Well, if I had known I was going to top deck this, maybe I would have. Honestly, maybe I would have if I had known that this would be the top deck. That's all right. We'll definitely play that here, set up for the Aurelion Soul next turn. Obviously, that's a good thing to do. Shyvana will be leveling up this round on our attack.
Break them.
All right.
You got a problem?
You got a problem? Okay, Flash Freeze. That's fair. Easy. There we go. All right, so Trundle dies. Shyvana levels up. And the fact that this Shyvana has Spell Shield right now is a pretty big deal, right? Because, like, at some point he might go for a Ruination, but, like, does that matter? Not much, unless they can play Vile Feast into Ruination. Shyvana's gonna live, so, like, good luck, opponent. Good luck. Good luck. So most likely my opponent's gonna go Fading Memories here, create a second Ice Pillar, and then play like Spectral Matron, targeting Lissandra or something like that, get a leveled up Lissandra, all that jazz. I don't think it really matters. I'm pretty sure we just play Aurelion Sol no matter what. So just on the off chance he, you know, our opponent could pass back. That is something they could choose to do. So on the off chance that they choose to do that, I'm just gonna play Aurelion Sol now. Our opponent's gonna try to combo off a little bit here. They're gonna go Fading Memories. I'm gonna play the next Ice Pillar. They're gonna play a Spectral Matron. Yada 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 yada. Right? You all know the drill. You guys know the drill. But I don't think anything they do there affects our play. Ooh, triple. Ooh, baby, a triple. Baby, a triple. Okay. That's a little unfortunate because now if he has Spectral Matron, Shyvana dies. But yeah, there's the Lissandra. Alright, so the second Fading Memories is a bit of an issue. It also means Aurelion Sol does not level up. That is unfortunate. That is certainly unfortunate.
Our arrangement is complete.
Oh, I see. It didn't matter. My opponent actually got... Ah, right. My opponent actually played 4 8-cost units all at once, so he won the game. I see. Well, huh. Interesting. That's a pretty stupid deck. There was nothing we could have done about that. The only way to play around, you know, your opponent getting out a Watcher on round 8 is getting a Concerted Strike that can actually deal 17 damage to a Watcher. And we didn't have that, right? Unless I'd played Aurelion Sol, there was no way Concerted Strike would ever do that, right? So my opponent actually just clears my board and kills me with the Watcher, so there's not really anything we could have done about that. The thing about the Watcher deck is that sometimes if they assemble the combo, there's nothing you can do, right? If they honestly assemble the combo on round 8, they usually just win and there's nothing you can do. However, they usually can't do that. Watcher decks usually aren't able to get the full combo in their hand by round 8. This person did, you know, which is rather lucky of them. But that's not something they can do consistently. So playing against the Watcher, I feel like, is kind of just rolling the dice and hoping that they don't draw exactly what they need. And that's about all you can do sometimes. So, it's unfortunate. But our opponent did manage to actually roll the entire combo into their hand all at once. But had they not had the second Fading Memories, right, we would have actually beaten them there. So, yeah. What are you gonna do? All right, we got something. Oh, I got something a little weird this time. Shurima Shadow Isles with Hecarim and Elise. I don't know what this is about. I do not know what this is about, but my aggro senses are tingling, so I'm actually gonna keep Solari Sunforger, just in case this is some weirdo Shark Chariot ephemeral aggro style deck. Just in case. Just in case. Ooh, and here is the curve. Here, the combo has been assembled, ladies and gentlemen. The combo has been assembled. Turn 1 Dragon Chow, turn 2 Herald, turn 3 Shyvana, turn 4 Solari Sunforger. What more can you even
skies
ask for?
darken with their
What more could
approach.
one even want
I know what lurks
from a
in the
from a deck?
shadows.
Not much, let me tell you, not a lot. Is that a Vile Feast? Okay, so our opponent goes for Vile Feast onto our Herald of Dragons. Okay, well done. Well done, opponent. Good job. That was very important. That was very important that they did that right then. So good job. Good job, opponent. Now we could Sharp Sight. we could Sharp Sight to save our Herald of Dragons. This would also prevent Elise from attacking us this turn. And honestly, I don't hate that. I honestly don't hate that. That might be a little silly. I think I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. We're gonna see where this leads us. We're gonna see where this leads us. Herald is a good card. We're gonna save its life. We're gonna save her life.
We must all make sacrifices.
If our opponent wants to attack with Elise, we will trade. That is fine. I will accept that trade.
With use a bite. Do you see?
And obviously Dragon Chow is here to block, right? The point of Dragon Chow is to block early game damage. It can't, you know, it can't trade, obviously, because it has 0 attack, but blocking early game damage is fine. And if we had kept it alive, we could have played Severos. That's hilarious. That's okay, though. We're gonna play Shyvana.
Dragon blood, Demacian heart.
So now we have a 4/5 Shyvana. And our opponent lost their Elise.
Come
Okay, they have a second
closer.
Elise.
I don't bite.
But Shyvana's attacking for 5 damage on round 4, and that's pretty good. Gotta say, that is pretty good.
What's the fire breath this time?
A soldier should know to stay out of the way.
We're gonna drop
Look
our
lively.
Dragon
Dragons
Guards.
are here.
Let me change into something more.
Okay, Elise levels up, but obviously we've got challengers, so it's not like that matters much. We do have access to the Solari Sunforger, but since our life total is still very high, I don't feel any need to play him yet.
Careful, Severos.
We're just gonna fill up the board with challengers, and you know, good luck assembling an aggro strategy when I could just kill all your big units, right? Like, how does an aggro deck stay afloat when all their units are just being traded away favorably by my challengers? And that's just part of how the deck goes. That's just part of why this deck is pretty okay right now. We have a very, very commanding board presence and board control, right? Ooh, a Hecarim for me? Oh, for me? Oh, you shouldn't have. You shouldn't have. That's so kind, opponent. So kind to just donate me a Hecarim like that. Wow. Really, too kind. Really, very kind. You didn't need to do that. Opponent did not need to be so generous and just donate me his Hecarim like that. We'll take it. We will take it.
True power.
Okay, Shyvana levels up. We clear out the leveled up Elise. And now it's round 7, and round 7 means Eclipse Dragon into Aurelion Soul. Bada bing, bada boom, you know what I'm saying?
We each died,
Okay.
then found
So our opponent has a Rekindler, as I kind of expected they would. Not that it really matters here. We're gonna drop the Eclipse Dragon. And we're just gonna... we'll keep hold of the dragon, actually. We can take 2, right? Like, we can easily take 2. That's fine. Nobody minds taking 2. But Hecarim, on the other hand, will not be surviving the round. So now we have a choice. We could open attack and use our, you know, the strafing strike that Shyvana creates, or we could just drop Aurelion Soul and try to win that way. We can kind of do both, actually, right? Let's just, I think we actually just attack. We're gonna drag the 1/1 here And then we don't attack with this. I think that's correct. We'll force him to trade out with the 4/4 on our Shyvana and keep hold of all 3 of our dragons. And this is important. It's important to keep hold of all 3 of our dragons. I could have like made a favorable trade with Screeching Dragon, right? But since we want to play Aurelion Sol and level him up this round, we're just gonna keep hold of all of our dragons.
The heavens diminish without my attention.
So obviously this Strafing Strike is gonna get, you know, discarded, but that's fine. We're not playing we're not playing to get value that way. We're not playing to like make sure we use all of our bleeding cards.
Bow to me.
If Aurelion Sol levels up, generally that's game over, right? Now I suspect my opponent is going to play a Harrowing here, so we do need to be a little careful. We haven't won the game quite yet. We've only mostly won the game. Yeah, so there's the Harrowing, and my opponent should get, I think, 3 Hecarims. 4 Hecarims, which is nothing to sneeze at. That is actually nothing to scoff at. So we do need to be careful here. So all these Hecarims have Overwhelm, which is, you know, notably scary. Notably scary. This is probably a good time to drop the Sun Forger that we've had in our hand all game. And we're going to try to use the single combat to help us not die here.
Shining gifts from the sky.
Shining gifts from the sky. We can trade away our whole board. None of our other dragons matter anymore now that Aurelion Sol's leveled up. The whole point of having them on the board at all is just to level up Aurelion Sol. So now that Aurelion Sol is already leveled, keeping them is irrelevant. We will trade away as much as we can to, you know, while ensuring that all our units, you know, our health total is what's preserved, right? So we're gonna trade. What I'm saying is we're gonna trade away Shyvana. What I'm trying to say here is that Shyvana is going to die this round. She doesn't matter anymore. I'm sorry, Shyvana. Don't tell her I said that. I'm sorry, Shyvana. You're great. Okay. So we're gonna block, and single combat.
You abject failure.
You abject failure. Wow, that keeps me alive at 1. That keeps me alive at 1, count 'em, 1 life. Yikes. That is a bit spooky. So if I actually... No, that's best. No, that's best.
The cosmos will collapse eventually.
Yeah, that's actually best. Oh no, wait, no, it's not. If we block this way, that keeps us at 11, but Aurelion Sol dies, and that's not acceptable. So
You abject failure.
that'll have to do. That keeps us at 1. If our opponent has any sort of buff, if he like buffs up a unit or whatever, we're gonna sharp sight to make sure that we keep a hold of our life total. We could also go for Dragon's Clutch, but we can't do both. So we're gonna hold sharp sight as a means to prevent, you know, keep our life total at a slightly higher than it is. If our opponent goes for Vile Feast, for instance, that could be the 1 damage that they need. Mark of the Isles. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So we're gonna sharp sight here, and that should put us back to where we were at 1. If they have a second Mark of the Isles, they actually win. Okay, cool. Looks like we got it. And if you guys didn't know why Aurelion Sol is, you know, basically auto GG, this right here is why. Every card in my hand costs 0 mana right now. That's why. So we're gonna play for a second here. Yeah, and that's game. My opponent knows that that's it. That's all it's gonna be. We're gonna completely fill up the board and then open attack next turn, and that's gonna be it.
Freedom tomorrow.
So yeah. Pretty good. Pretty good. That was 3 games. I think that's probably gonna be enough for one video. I hope you guys enjoyed. So some of you may be asking, so wow, that deck looks pretty good. What does this deck actually struggle with? What counters this deck? If I am, you know, Game Boy, I'm seeing that deck on the ladder all the time. How do I beat it? Aggro. This deck right here, discard Draven Jinx, discard aggro, and other hyper aggro, fast-paced decks do very well against this type of deck. They get under it really quick. They can sort of force them to trade out their Herald of Dragons and then go wide. This deck has a bit of a slow start. It takes them a minute to set up, and then once they're set up, they can only usually play 1 unit per turn until like the end of the game, right? They play like Shyvana on 4 and then Screeching on 5 and then, you know, Eclipse Dragon on 7, and that's it, right? That's the only, it's just 1 unit per turn. So if you're playing a deck like Discard Aggro that can fill the board and go 6 wide, you usually can come out on top. So if you're struggling against this deck, wide board aggro decks do really well. Obviously Lissandra, Watcher, as we saw, sometimes the Watcher can be a bit silly, a bit unfair to try to deal with. But yeah, that's what I would recommend. So I hope you guys enjoyed those games. If you did, leave a like, really would help out the channel. And let me know if this is something you guys are interested in, if this was helpful, and if what decks you would like me to review and go over in the future. So with all that out of the way, I think that is enough for one video, and I will see you guys in the next one.